Moin, I'm Tilman from the Radelbande. This is the Vello. It is a folding bike that wants to combine a relatively compact folding size with the greatest possible everyday use. And in this video, we'll take a close look at the Vello. Folding bikes are the ideal addition to almost every bicycle fleet because they allow all forms of mobility to be used. First, pretty much anyone can ride a folding bike, small or tall, old or young. And they can be taken in the car, they can be taken on the train, they can be taken on the cargo bike, and they can be parked almost anywhere. And I'm looking for my perfect folding bike. And the next candidate is the Vello here. But it's best to subscribe to this channel now, so that you don't miss out on the future candidates. Vello was founded in Vienna in 2014 by Valerie and Valentin. They wanted to build a modern folding bike that has only one thing in common with the old folding bikes from the 70s, but more on that later. Thanks to successful crowdfunding, they then brought the first bikes into the market and have since won a number of design awards. In 2017, the first Vello Bike Plus came into the market, a folding bike with an electric motor that sits in the rear of the hub and offers some exciting features. And in October 2022, they presented the first real cargo bike, so I'm curious to see how that rides as well. But this video is about the folding bike. The Vello comes in different versions, with a steel and a titanium frame and with different gearing options, and here we have the Vello with the Alpine 8-speed. The entire frame, fork and rear end of the Vello are made of steel. The wheels, and this is the only reminiscence of old folding bikes, are 20 inches in size and should therefore offer good riding characteristics. How good? We'll see later in the riding impression. The gear hub is a Shimano Alpine 8-speed hub and it's driven by a belt. And the brakes, and that's also very exciting, they are hydraulic disc brakes with Vello branding. The Vello weighs 13 kilograms and can weigh a maximum of 125 kilograms. The Vello fits people of all sizes, but for tall people like me, Vello also offers a longer seat post and stem. The normal stem is a relatively short, stubby stem. Here it can be adjusted in height, either very, very high or very, very low. Let's put it somewhere in the middle. And then the seat post is also very, very long, 600 millimeters to be exact, offering quite a bit of capacity. So I can easily get on the bike here and then have a sporty seating position. If I want to sit a little bit more upright, I can raise the stem a little, and then I can sit a little bit more upright. The Vello offers some very nice details, and the first detail that caught my eye is this. Bottle cage grommets. Exactly. Some cyclists are also on the road and long trips with the Vello, and of course they are very happy if they can screw things on the bike properly and don't just have to lash them down somewhere. Here's also the possibility to mount a lock or something similar. Another detail, we have a folding bike here where the rear end folds downwards, and we'll go into the folding mechanism later, but nevertheless a belt is mounted here, and here is no additional belt tensioner anywhere. This is made possible by the fact that the pivot point of this folding mechanism is not behind the bottom bracket, as it is the case with most other folding bikes, but in front of the bottom bracket. As a result, the distance between the crank and the rear sprocket is always the same. Smart. Vello also offers several luggage rack solutions. First of all, there's a rear luggage rack for here that can load 20 kilograms and which is then folded away to the front during the folding process. The front luggage rack sits on a carrier block and can be easily removed and taken with you wherever you need it. This carrier block is also compatible with accessories from other folding bike manufacturers. That said, the range of accessories that can be built onto this carrier block is really huge. But here we have the original Vello carrier, which is very stable, can be loaded with up to 10 kilograms and relatively large bags can be lashed to it. However, we now have the original Vello Daypack on here, which is also an exciting product. On the one hand, it's waterproof. It has a large reflective Vello logo and offers enough storage space for a 13-inch notebook. And a lot fits in here. It's divided into several pockets here with a small pocket here at the front. I think this is pretty cool. And you can also remove it from this luggage rack and then carry it as a backpack with these additional straps. Therefore, day pack. And when you want to ride off, you simply take it, click it on, and you can ride off. And the steering is not affected by it. In my opinion, the processing of the frame is also very beautiful. First, we have steel here as a classic frame material with narrow tubes that are not too bulky. I think this makes the whole bike look very elegant. And then the processing between the individual tubes, these seams, this is also very chic. And then, if you look back here, this is a pretty simple geometry overall, but there are a few twists to make this folding mechanism work so well, which we'll get into in a moment, don't worry. All the components that have been installed here on the bike are standard bike components. The wheels are of course 20 inches, but the front and rear hubs are standard hubs. The brake discs are standard, the crank is standard. We have a normal seat post here, albeit a very long one, and the stem could also be replaced with another stem that might be a height adjustable in a different way. One exemption, the only thing that isn't quite as standard on this bike is the handlebars, but you can also replace them with a standard part. The front fender is also a standard part, but the rear fender definitely is anything but standard. Let me show you. The folding mechanism on the Vello is made possible by the fact that we have various asymmetrical pivot points where the parts are folded. If you fold the wheel up now, we have different magnets that keep it in its current shape. And even when it's unfolded, you can see it here. The mudguard is attached with magnets like this, and then it folds and unfolds with this folding mechanism. And also here, the rear end is attached to this elastomer with a magnet. And again, there is a magnet to keep the wheel together when folded. So let's fold it up now. We have to take out the safety pin here, which then wiggles around, then loosen this clamp here, and then we can basically do it in one go. With a little more practice, it gets a little better. Here I have to do it like this, and then the magnets will basically snap into each other. And then the bike is standing. Now we have the handlebars. You can pull them apart, and of course the seat post here should be lowered in order to get the whole bike into this folded size. The whole thing now is relatively compact at 79 centimeters long, 57 centimeters high and 29 centimeters wide. With that longer stem and seat post is obviously a little taller than 57 centimeters, but now we can take it and just walk with it. And when we come back, we simply put it down, loosen the seat post, put the handlebars back together, loosen the small magnet, fold out the rear of the bike again. It's already tight at the back. Then it has to be tightened again here at the front, which is certainly a bit easier if you don't have the camera on. Reinsert the locking pin, bring the saddle into the right height, bring the handlebars to the right height, like that. And see, I forgot the date pack. But you can also keep it on the bike when it's folded. So now and then take the folding bike in the small car Tillman, shows you how the bike rides. On our way with a small Vello bike. And when we start riding now, the first thing that strikes us is that the handlebars are really nice and wide. So no compromises are made here with the handlebar width, thanks to this plug-in mechanism. The bike flexes willingly, and when you ride it over bumps like this, the 20-inch wheels do a good job. So it doesn't feel like a children's bike, but relatively big, and it steers willingly. It steers directly. We are in 8th gear. Now at high speeds you can no longer pedal at some point, it simply gets too quick. I don't know how fast we are now, but even if you roll down a hill really fast, it's very stable. The steering doesn't wobble or anything like that, and because it was so nice, we are riding up there again. And now let's see how the other end of the gearing is designed. 2nd gear. So that's a very small gear ratio now. I also think that you should be able to get up any steep incline with it, because this is the lowest gear and it's basically pedestrian speed. It's no problem if you have any steep inclines. But of course there's a limit at the top of the gear ratio. You can no longer pedal at certain speeds. But in everyday life I always had the feeling that I had a good range, but of course I live in Lübeck, you should know. And now with such a smooth, straight stretch, it's really comfortable to ride. You can keep up the speed very well. And what's also noticeable, the whole system, especially with the belt, is quiet and incredibly low maintenance. I like it very much. If we step on the pedals and maybe even get out of the saddle, then the bike feels very stiff underneath you. So the frame with the double tube is really well designed. It's really stable. And even if you somehow lean into the corner quickly, it doesn't tend to flap or rock at all, even under my weight. Or even riding hands-free is possible without any problems. Alright, off-road. Now it's a bit downhill here, the track is a bit damp, so we have to be careful. But the brakes work really well, they can be finely adjusted and have a good pressure point. Up there the path is a bit drier, and we'll test the brakes on this dry stretch. Yes, the tires aren't particularly big, but the brakes are really responsive and powerful for this small bike. What's noticeable here now, the suspension mostly comes from the tires. We have an elastomer at the back, but I found that it doesn't really matter that much. But it ensures that this connection between the rear triangle and the front frame is as durable as possible. With other folding bikes you might have the feeling that the front wheel could somehow tip over. This is not the case with the Vello, because they are relatively large at 20 inches. It also rides across cobblestones really well. It rides fast, it rides reliably, there's nothing to worry about. Whew, I'm exhausted. Why do I always tap on the gas in such tests? That's probably because it's also sporty and because it's also available as a gravel version, for example with a real drop bar. So I can well imagine that such a foldable gravel bike can actually be used if, for example, you travel a lot, you take the train a lot and don't always want to buy a train ticket for the bike. And now let's go back to presentation Tillmann. Yes, thank you, now and then take the folding bike in the small car Tillmann. Now let's look at the prices. The Vello Rocky starts at 1,590 euros with a steel frame and a 10-speed derailleur, and ends with the Vello Bike Plus Titanium for 4,490 euros. This year, the Vello bike with the Alpine 8-speed is available from 2,290 euros, and with a luggage rack, day pack, stand and mudguards, it costs 2,721 euros. One thing that has particularly struck me about the Vello over the past few weeks is that when you sit on it, you don't realize you're sitting on a folding bike. While many other folding bikes may compromise it when it comes to rideability, here you have the complete package. We have very good hydraulic disc brakes, we have the Shimano Alpine shifting with a belt, and the whole thing works really well. It's clean, it's quiet, and here, with these foldable handlebars, you have really wide handlebars. So that is also a compromise that doesn't have to be made here. So that's what I really like about the Vello. Even if the folding mechanism is not as elegant, which could be my fault, And of course the whole thing can't be folded up quite as small as other folding bikes. It's a very good candidate for my list. And now it's your turn. What do you think of the Vello? And are there any other candidates I should test on my journey to the perfect folding bike? Let me know below in the comments. And leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, and if you want to join the next time the Radelbande is on tour, then subscribe to the channel. Bye bye. See you around.